Hi, I'm Mike Long, and I want to welcome you to the Area 51 of the marketing world. I'm actually here with a really good friend of mine, Frank Kern, who's actually made the trip up the hill to my little secret headquarters. He actually doesn't live too far away, so I can't tell you where he lives either, because then you could...
It's definitely not that house in the background. It's not that one. So, you know,
exactly.
Yeah, it's not there.
Frank's a mad genius. I've both learned a lot and made a lot of money working with Frank, and he's pretty much, I consider to be the most deadly working copywriter in the world. And that I say that with a lot of, I think that's a huge shame. Frank and I are both good friends with John Carlton, who's a living legend and one of the greatest ever. But Frank is just.
I have better hair than Carlton.
You do have.
Yeah, so. That's really all that matters.
Beard, though. I mean, he actually sent me a memo about us copying his beard, whole style thing, and he says that something about young whippersnappers or something like that.
Now what are we going to do?
He's gone corporate.
Maybe we should go Fu Manchu.
Oh, that could be nice.
Yeah.
Like the little soul patch?
Yeah.
Soul patch could be the new.
Yeah.
It could be the new pink.
It could be.
So it's actually all very simple, and so I, for a while we haven't talked about this stuff, and I thought
I think we're lucky that it's simple, or else we'd be screwed. Because
yeah, totally.
I don't think I'd be able to follow any sort of a complex plan.
No.
I'm really stoked to be doing this interview because lots of people have been hearing the name Mike Long for years. I remember Ed and I talked about you and your MTG Insider site back in early '04 when we launched Underachiever, and I'm on lots of marketing lists, and I've seen your name a lot on marketing lists. And just last night, I was having dinner at some friend's house who are definitely not over there in the background, and two other
Somebody can get on Google Earth and figure this all out.
Definitely not. Two other internet marketers were like, well, tell us about Mike Long. What's the deal with that guy? And it was great, because you're like this cult underground guy. So now you're making your first, I guess, like really mass public appearance. So I'm going to assume lots of people will see this video.
Yeah, probably so. I've only, over the course of the last several years, I did one interview with Jeff Walker for Product Launch Formula. I did one interview with Yannick for his Secret Society. One of the things I see about the Underachiever formula and these big launches that we've done, all they are is just big, gigantic underachievers.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything really different. I guess people are probably watching this thinking, okay, well, we've heard of this Mike Long character. We've heard his name floating around with these massive product launches. We've heard that no good Frank Kern was involved in these massive product launches. And what have we done? I guess we shouldn't speak in specifics. I don't know, but we did one a couple months ago that was $14 million and
then more actually
in orders or whatever.
Yeah, in less than 24 hours worth of sales.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
And then we did another one that was like 2.8 or something in the first couple hours. So that was awesome.
That was awesome.
I guess that's been in the past 7 or 8 months or whatever, and I'm sure everyone knows what we're talking about, but we didn't ask the dudes that we worked with if we could talk about it, so we'll officially just be vague, but
sure.
Google it or something if you want more details. But they're probably thinking, well, how did you guys do this? And especially if they've never seen you or me, they're probably right now going, surely, these
couldn't
dudes,
be these guys.
It cannot possibly be these guys, So I guess we were talking earlier about when you look at a really big business like this, if you look at a big successful campaign or a large business empire, if you strip away everything, it's almost always just a couple of dudes, or
oh my gosh,
one
that
dude
is so true.
Or whatever.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I saw that during the Traffic Secrets launch. I saw that when me and Walker did whatever Product Launch Formula. It wasn't that hard to figure out. Just not that many people, but one of the great things about having a simple plan, and I really do like this about the Underachiever method, even if we have built massive overachievers out of it, accidentally, is that if you have a simple plan, then you can follow it. You can document the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's when you have a 97-step plan with all these.
That's really a hassle.
When I start reading these books, and my eyes just glaze over.
A
lot of self-help books that are out there. A lot of just. With these plans,
no pictures,
no diagrams, we're kind of half kidding and half serious. But a lot of times in copy, I read other copywriters' material and they ask me for help and stuff like that, and I just kind of say, well, what is it and what does it do? What's really going on here?
Yeah, why is this thing cool? And I think if you really broke down, if someone were to say, well, how do you do these massive campaigns? you know, especially in the internet marketing world, because the past two we've done have been in the extremely competitive world of internet marketing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think like
it's so much more difficult there too. I did a campaign recently in a niche market, and it was just like, I was like, really, $1.5 million? You've got to be kidding! I was shocked because it wasn't. I mean, it was like, okay. I mean, it was good.
$1.5 million is $1 million. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but still,
well, a lot of candy bars and comic books.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like anything like the work that we put into the last couple. I mean, it was really just like, you know, a little bit of side editing, and a couple other people helped, and it was just not that hard.
We talk about the magic bullet a lot behind the scenes. I think that's step one.
The silver bullet, yeah.
You got to have like whatever the thing is that you want to launch or promote to the marketplace, and whether it's the internet marketing world or the, you know, how to play guitar world or something. It has to be a magic bullet, or it has to at least be perceived as a magic bullet. Like the first thing that we worked on together was a business that showed people how to get free organic traffic. And that happened to coincide right with the time when Google decided to get all lame again and like do Google Slap 9,000. You know, so everyone was turned off on on PCP. Everyone was turned off. I don't know why. You know. Apparently it's bad for you. But everyone was turned off on PPC and freaking out.
People,
you know,
people were freaking out. And we both had friends that lost businesses over that. So it's understandable that people would freak out. But
then we were able to say, like, okay, well, this thing is a magic bullet because it gets you free traffic from SEO, allegedly. And I guess so you take step one being magic bullet, and step two, like kind of reining back into the Camtasia thing, is you show that the damn thing works. You know, it's like, it's not rocket science, really. It's like, okay, well, this is what everybody wants, and like something that the dude at home in Kansas or Iowa is going, man, if I had that, it would be great.
Right, exactly.
If it works.
Right.
So
if
then
it works.
So if I had that, it would be great conversation. It's indicative of magic bullet status. And then if you can get this person, or if you know that your target market's having that if it works conversation in their head, then you're really golden, because going back like to the original foundation of the conversation, if the thing does work and it's good, you can prove that it works by showing it work on video, you know, or via an audio testimonial with customers or whatever, you know. And this really isn't new stuff, you know. I mean, you have overweight people saying, gosh, you know, if only I could just eat steak all day and lose weight, that would be great. I wonder if it works. And then, you know, Atkins diet is like, yeah, dude, look at this guy, used to be 497.
After.
Yeah,
exactly.
Works, you know? So
yeah, I mean, the prospect, you know, when they're coming, and you know, people. A lot of times people try to act like internet marketing is somehow different, like somehow there are internet marketing prospects out there, and these people are just loose and easy with their money and just ready to spend, you know, on command at any moment. You know, oh my God, somebody offered me something on my computer. That's never happened before.
Amazing.
Oh, let me start stuffing cash into the CD-ROM. I mean, like, it just, you know, that's not really what happens. In fact, people on the internet are every bit as skeptical, if not more.
Oh yeah, there's no face-to-face. It's a new medium still, and you know, you have the other people like playing off the fear of identity theft and all that. So it's a much harder.
There's
sell.
Identity theft. There's the fact that, like, let's be realistic. Very few people, you know the simple steps that you need to take to make yourself look good online, like and properly represent yourself to people. Like in real life, you know, you look like a real person. You know, you kind of at least understand your appearance. Most people don't even understand the way that their marketing message is making them come across.
Yeah.
So it just kind of ends up being like this big haze.
So let's say we have someone here with us, and they're like, all right, man, you know, how do I do this? And we have notes and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
5 pages of them, and
5 whole pages
printed, and they're nice. But the title of this
triplicate
is weird stuff that Frank Kern and I have talked about that helped make us and a bunch of other dudes all rich. Which is true. It is weird stuff, and it has helped make us and a bunch of other dudes all rich, which is great. But step one in this is a simple but effective plan. And like, let's say you're at home and you've got your what was it, Whiz Bangatron 9000?
Your Whiz Bangatron 9000. That thing's awesome.
You want to sell the Whiz Bangatron 9000.
It's waterproof this year.
Thank God, with the turbo and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
The turbo, I think, is what pushed it over the edge for
like,
me.
Well, you can hook nitrous tanks onto it now too.
Ooh, man.
Yeah, the fasteners, they have them. It's very.
I hope the kids don't find out about it. They're going to be going crazy.
Complimentary beverages too.
Oh, well, that's good.
They're pulling out all the stops.
Man, these guys really know what they're doing. But let's say you're the Whiz Bangatron 9000 guy or girl or whatever. You know, I'll use guy just for the sake of using that. But it's a given, you know, that you want to sell your thing, right? But if you're going to go into a promotion, it's a very good idea to have a concrete number of how much money you want to make, not how many units you want to sell. Who cares about selling units? You know, it's like how much do you want to make? So $1 million is the buzzword still, I think, especially for people who've never done this. You know, like now it's almost like if you only do $1 million, it's like, oh, well, did $1 million, you know, which is really great actually. If you can get to that mindset. But sorry, so let's say you want to do your $1 million launch in a day or an hour or 10 minutes or whatever it is you want to do. Well, if you're selling Whiz-Bangatron 9000, it's like, okay, well, how many Whiz-Bangatron 9000s do I have to sell to make $1 million? I know this is basic, you know, but look at us, guys. I mean, we're not going to go out into the rocket science theory here. We don't have any in it. So $1,000 a copy or a box of Whiz-Bangatron 9000 formula or whatever, sell 1,000 units, you've made your $1 million, you know. So simple but effective plan, right? Okay, I want to sell 1,000 units of this thing. Critical step. People overlook it. They're like, oh, I just want to sell some stuff and have a big launch. Well, no, man, you're not going to get on a plane and not knowing where it's going. You know, you like, okay, I'm going to fly to LA now. You know, so it's the same thing. I want to sell 1,000 units of this and therefore make $1 million. So
yeah. And if you want to take that to the next level, I actually put some more notes on this because I quoted our friend. Oh, where did I put it? It's actually like on the third page. I talk about the king of leisure. Look at this.
We should have
for lifestyle.
color-coded the notes, and then it would have really been easier to follow.
But yeah, you know, so check this out. So King of Leisure, secret formula. You know, I really I thought about that. Frank had a really dope event about a year ago where he sold his sort of secret formula for for building a certain kind of business for $10,000 a head to 100 lucky people. That sold out really quickly too. So
that was another classic example of knowing exactly what I wanted to do. It was like, you know, I invented this stuff. I want to make $1 million off of it. How could I do it? I could license it to corporations. I could do whatever. Or I could just teach a class, teach 100 people.
Yeah, it was really cool watching you break the whole thing down, because the funny thing was I was visiting you in Macon. That was like just before you moved out here.
Right.
And I was just visiting you with Macon because I was working on copy for another launch that did $1 million. Or actually, eventually did $1 million. It only did like 600, but anyway, whatever. It got there eventually. And there you were. You were just like, I'm going to do it this way. You know, I'm going to make some movies. I'm going to show
that it works.
The business. I'm going to show exactly how it works.
It goes right back to the original pieces of the formula. Absolutely. It's magic bullet because people want, you know, they wanted to have a big business quickly.
Silver bullet,
and
exactly.
You know, and does it work? Well, yeah. And I was able to get on this newfangled Camtasia business that all the kids are talking about, and like show the ClickBank statements. They're like, well, okay, you know, here's the past year. Here's a lot.
And it was great because you got to see the progression. I mean, and like I said, when I met Frank, you know, like he was making whatever $14.50 a day. You know, selling one half of a parrot ebook every a parrot ebook every other day, and then it switched over literally to where it was. You know, I would ask you and it'd be like, oh, now it's 50, now it's 100, now it's 200, now it's 500, now it's 1,000, now it's 2,000, now it's some number that I'm not going to name because it's none. You know, I mean that's a business, but it's good. It's a darn good business.
Yeah, I like it. It's nice.
And but one of the things that you did at this great workshop is you started things off. One of our great mastermind sessions that we had a couple years back, right after New Year's, our friend Dean Jackson kind of unleashed a little formula on us, in terms of reverse engineering your success. And what Dean helped you do is sort of lock in on the exact number you really wanted to get. So if instead of just saying, well, I need $1 million. See, the interesting thing about $1 million is really, what does $1 million buy you? Does it buy you this lifestyle? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, well, yeah, it does. But anyway, but that's the thing, is that you can actually then break it down, and it was awesome because at that event you actually got the whiteboard and broke people's lifestyles down, and somebody wanted to have a personal chef, and so
how much does that cost?
How much does that cost, and all this stuff, and breaking that down in realistic numbers. And this is also a great thing to do. If you have any concerns or any worries, like just writing all your concerns and worries down, just getting them spelled out. But certainly for goal setting and goal getting, it's awesome.
Well, and there's no point of just like making money for the sake of making money.
Exactly.
Because you're on this treadmill. So why am I doing
this?
Then
when is enough? Look, when is it that you're actually going to stop and go and be a surf bum and just enjoy yourself? Like when is that going to happen? Exactly. Like that harshes on my mellow just to think about it. It's not cool.
That's not good. Yeah, but very few people do that. So if you sit down, and this is like beginning with the end in mind, whether it's as we were talking about earlier with, well, what kind of promotion do you want to run? Do you want to do $1 million in a day? What do you have to sell to do $1 million in a day? You know, and then
what are the metrics like? You know, break it down and you know, and then figure it out from there.
You can design your entire life like that. It's like,
Exactly.
okay, if I had the perfect life, like let's say, you know, that there were absolutely no limitations at all, what would I do? You know, and people were like, well, I'd have a personal chef. One friend of ours said that she would have cabana boys. You know, and it's like, well, how much is a cabana boy going to cost? You know, like, well, I don't know. Let's pay the dude $70 grand a year, so he'll be stoked. It'll really be a good cabana boy. And you got 2 of them, so that's 140 a year. So you're going to need, you know, like $12,000 a month or whatever.
Absolutely.
You know, so whatever you should always just write out exactly what you want, how much it's going to cost you on a monthly basis, is the way we did it, and then build the business to support the lifestyle. And it's, to me, and Dean taught me that, and I taught some people that, it's so freeing, because it's like, oh man, you know, I can just do this and reverse engineer the entire process.
And what it lets you do is it just lets you, I mean, for me, I just try to keep things simple. If it, you know, if it gets too cloudy, I just kind of shut down.
What's funny is, like, we did it with all those folks. I don't think anybody, it's 100 people now that did this thing. I don't think anyone had like anything in excess of like $80,000 a month. You know, which is a considerable amount of money, but it's not that much. It's not really hard to do once you understand and believe that it's not hard
breaking down
to do.
exactly what you want. And so
this
forth.
is like people, you know, want jets.
Oh,
private,
absolutely,
multiple
yeah.
homes and
We
everything.
broke down how much a NetJet membership would be, you know, figure out. And the thing is, once you know, even if you set your goal really high, and it's great to set your goal really high, the best thing about it is now your mind can just settle down and just focus on doing one thing.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, when you don't have a real set goal, what happens is, at least for my mind, is I just keep wondering whether I should be working or whether I'm working on the right goal or am I getting there or what. I mean, it's a mess.
And once you define it, it tends to somehow materialize more often. Like,
Totally
remember
agree.
when we were having a conversation, I think it was the first time you came out here, and I just taught the serializer events, and I had the Ultra Underachievers thing going with that, and I was really burned out. And I was like,
Yeah,
man,
you're totally,
making a lot of money, but this just isn't, I'm really not having that much fun doing this. And you're like, well, what do you want to do, man? And it's like, well, I think I really just want to sit around and plot and scheme, and then write emails that get people all stoked and make a bunch of money. And you're like, oh, okay. And then once I defined it, it sort of happened, you know, because these launch opportunities came, and people were like, we'll give you lots of money if you'll plot and scheme.
Right, exactly. Okay. Absolutely. And so, like, and we'll actually get to the scheming at some point, because evil schemery is one of the great skills that Frank has, along with copywriting. And there kind of is, you know, again, there's a formula for being creative. Like, you know, you don't have to, like, go through all the hard work of figuring out how to be creative. But, you know, we'll at least tell you something about it. But, you know, I mean, I think in terms of having a simple plan, like, just to run back to our quick notes, there was a...
Is this the one on how to hatch an evil scheme?
Yeah, well, no, this is...
Page 4.
Oh, that's advantage of it. Yeah, well, that's a good one, too. But this is lifestyle, how to hatch an evil scheme. Is that number 2? No, it's number 1. This is number 3. Number 2. Here we go. This is this is the interesting thing. Like, so the note that I'm looking at right here says, underachiever to overachiever, a simple but effective plan. The plan is to start simple and scale from there. Build value, use transparency. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's kind of funny. I put out the 4 steps here, and it surprises me that it's this simple, but we do this every single time. I have step 1, research and ask. So we take the time. Before I'm even going to bother any prospects or anybody else, I'm going to personally do some research, do some digging. Frank sees it all the time. You know, people come out and they say that their hoo-ha, you know, is super great and, you know, fixes everything for people and so forth.
It really has been out here lately. This place where we're at right now, we have all these people just come. How do they even know about it? And they're like, I've got this new whiz-bang thing. It feels like we're TV producers.
Maybe it's because Mike Kilsane keeps writing emails and sending them out to people. I'm not sure. But they keep coming out and they'll be like, well, this thing cures cancer, or this thing, you know, will, you know, get you to the moon, you know, overnight, you know.
The overnight moon delivery
system or whatever.
I heard about that.
And
Pizza made that.
So I do, and the funny thing is sometimes, I mean, literally, I you know, and this is not everybody, very few people are this way, but some people, I'll say, you know, does it work? And they'll be like, what? Like
I might, but, you know, the 40,000 people are going to try to put this in front of do not.
We're going to
default,
put, you know, you want me to put 250,000 prospects in front of somebody, and what, are you going to just vouch, you know?
Like, this probably works really well.
Yeah.
I can hereby tell you that I'm pretty sure this works really well. That's not
Spit promise.
Yeah. That's not going to fly. But I think, like, to me, the value in transparency translates into Kernese from value being, do they want it really bad? Is it something that has that magic bullet
That
quality?
magic bullet, that silver bullet factor.
And transparency is proof. Can you show that it works without any kind of, weirdness?
Yeah,
can you just
simple,
be like, here's the thing, and
like
here's
within
doing
a
this
couple
magic.
seconds, it should just be like, oh, I want that. It should just dawn on any prospect. It shouldn't be like, oh no, wait, let me explain how great it is.
Yeah, gotta have it right now.
If the person's sitting there and staring at it, and they're like, they like turn back to you.
You're like, huh?
And they're like, huh? And then you're like, you explain it for 15
You're
minutes.
done. Yeah.
Just forget it. Like,
Save
you
yourself
have to have a
lots of
really
time.
simple, thing. Like, if it doesn't boil down to like basically like one sentence, this, makes you money with your credit card, whatever. I mean, just something really, really, really simple.
Yep.
And something that shows that very, very simply, then,
you're hosed.
you're hosed.
Yeah.
I
Well, then
really
you have to
agree with
actually
that.
be really good at marketing, and then you're in trouble.
Well, and by the way, this is
then
one
you
of
have
the
to
things.
convince someone that they want something,
I've
and that's
been
impossible.
trying to figure out how they have all these. To be straight up with you, Frank, just based on us and our, the success that we've had, I've been wondering how they have like these business schools that cost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, that people go and get these fancy MBAs. Like, what are they teaching them?
Well, nothing,
Like-
but they're fulfilling that desire because the people who are buying
Exactly.
it see it as the magic bullet. They're
Exactly,
thinking to
they
themselves,
do.
if I
They
have
do
the
see it as the
MBA, then
magic
I'll get the
bullet.
job, I'll have the
Exactly.
status, I'll have
Exactly.
the convertible 3 Series BMW.
Exactly, and everything will be
and
great until
everything will be cool.
they realize that. Yeah. Anyway, whatever.
But it's classic though, because
It is
that is
classic.
a classic example of magic bullet thinking right there. Because people are brought up to believe that
Exactly.
this dude's got an MBA.
Yes, he's got everything must be perfect now, besides that $250,000 debt that he has now.
Yeah, and the transparency in this case is not even real proof because in reality, I don't believe that an MBA is going to help you very much from my experience. I mean, I don't know. But the proof in the MBA working in this case is social.
Yeah.
Because we've been taught that it works. So
Right.
so of course it works because our
course.
teachers say it works. So
Sure,
there's
exactly.
the transparency right there. But that's a beautiful example outside of the internet marketing world.
Sure,
of
sure,
value and
exactly.
transparency.
And-
Unfortunately, they don't have like the critical thing as does it really work?
Right, exactly, and you do want to take a smart decision and a smart point of view about this. I mean, one of the things I see a lot of days now with people trying to copy some of the things that we've done. A lot of times you wonder, hey, is this a bait and switch mentality? Because if it's not a bait and switch mentality, why are these case studies all from gurus? Why are these case studies all from your stuff? Why aren't you showing other people's stuff? Why are you showing some program that's not relevant? Like I see this a lot. They'll be like, we're selling this pay-per-click program. Let me show you results of people that have met me and really like me. It's just
Of
that has
regular
nothing to
of
do.
people like you.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's the ideal situation.
Those are three magic words, really. People
Exactly,
like you.
people just like you. I mean, when you can actually just show somebody. I was just
That would be
completely
a
astonished.
good headline during a launch thing. Actually, an email
People
that
just
would
like
say,
you.
"Mike, people like you really ... And then you're going to have to open it, and then it would be people like you really enjoy the Whiz Bang 2000, sure, or 9000, sorry. Sure, we could have gotten the creators of Whiz Bang 9000 on here, but don't you think you would really like to see what people like you have experienced? Here's Bob from Minnesota. He used the Whiz Bang 9000. Next thing you know, he can fly or whatever, and it's perfect. The people like you is a great little magic phrase there, and that's you got to show the people like them thing. We got the step 2, which is give good free stuff. In all caps, by the way. Well, not all caps, but the words are capitalized.
Each one are capitalized, which I think it looks very nice.
It really
the,
does.
The thing about giving good free stuff, and you actually have to pretty much give good stuff, period, or else you're going to get a bunch of refunds and have a lousy reputation and have been, a total hose bag for doing everything in the first place, which harshes on your mellow, harshes on everyone else's
Lots of
mellow.
mellow harshing going on
Mellow
with that whole
harshing,
situation.
not cool, not
No
cool.
bueno, yeah.
Don't forget about that. Forget about mellow harshing. So the thing is, in terms of creating good free stuff, once again, you've got to have something that people want in the first place, where they look at it and immediately want it, and then you've got to have something relevant to give to anybody who's watching.
And the free stuff it should almost always be the proof.
Yeah.
Or at least some good content
Linked to
that
the
builds
proof.
excitement.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
ideally, the free stuff is the proof that it works, done in a low-key, salesy environment. So this, I would hope people would find this video to be good free stuff. If we were trying to sell something right now, we would be having this conversation, but we would mention the specific launches that we've done, which I'm sure you guys all know about anyway, and We probably should have called the people we did them with and asked permission, but we didn't. So
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but
It's a lot of different dudes.
But that would be free stuff, and then we would be showing the proof.
Yeah,
So
we'd be
it's-
like, well, look at this thing, and here are these stats and those stats, and look what happens when you make $10 million in a day. But and then what we
then
can
you
do is
throw
we
in
talk about
something like,
certain-
imagine
Yeah.
if you just did this 1/10 as well, and you only did $1 million in a day. Well, I would take that at any time. But you're implanting that sales message and painting the picture already, because we all, I think, tend to be like forward thinking when you see something. Like if you look at what do they say, like young doctors when they're going through medical school or they're interns, they like start learning about all the diseases, and then they start thinking that they have them.
Yeah,
That-
exactly.
That can work.
That's
like,
psychological, exactly.
yeah, but it works in a positive situation
For
as
sure,
well,
for
because
sure.
if you see this thing, you're like, man, what if that was me? That's what got me into this whole world.
And that's, it's kind of funny because when I'm, I find it very rare for people to deliver very good case studies. And I think that it's usually because the prospect doesn't know what good testimony looks like. They don't know what a good, endorsement looks like. And so they're like, well, what should I say that I really like this person? What if I or I they're
Please,
nervous.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I mean-
And they don't even have a roadmap of what it looks like. And so what I really try to do is just provide an actual roadmap of what that case study situation can look like for the customer. So they're sitting there and they're like, well, I did have a good experience, but they're thinking in their heart. I mean, once again, it's kind of a question of will it work for me? They're thinking to themselves, am I going to feel good after I make this phone call, or am I going to feel awkward? Am I going to feel like a bunch of people are watching me and thinking that I'm kind of weird or something like that? And so what I like to do is just show them a well done case, case study or testimonial, somebody calling up and saying, hey, Frank, thank you so much for your parody book. I was really just pulling my hair out. I had Tweeter. And I paid a bunch of money for Tweeter, and I bought all these expensive products to teach me how to teacher, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing. And then I was, doing a net search one night, and I ran into your ad for Your Parrot Will Talk, and it was so exciting for me. I went through it, and at first I was skeptical, but then I went ahead and I bought, and I went through the manual. I wasn't very patient, so I just kind of went through the high level, understanding points, and I went to your special quick start section, and that really helped me out right away. In fact, here's Tweeter right now. Whatever.
Yeah, and Twitter reads like, the first paragraph of War and Peace or something.
Exactly. And at that point, the person who's watching that, or listening to that experience, they now know, oh, well, that's what it sounds like. That's what I should do. And plus, it's also social proof. It shows them that somebody else is having success. It shows them that somebody else is testifying for
Someone
you.
just like them. That's
Somebody
the key.
just like them.
Yeah.
And once again, it's the funny thing is selling somebody on giving you a testimonial. It's taking the same steps that you're doing to sell somebody on anything else.
So a testimonial is a good example of free stuff, good free stuff, and specifically if you can do the testimonial where it gives away some of the method, So in the
Sure, a
parrot
little
thing,
bit
it'd
of
be
methodology,
Yeah.
and authenticity, little hints, little details. My feeling is, if you're going to sell, I mean, this is kind of my rule of thumb. If you're going to sell, say, $1,000 product, a $997 product, then the marketing that you put together should realistically be sellable for $100. I really feel that way. I kind of try to target it, in that direction. That okay, I could kind of repackage this marketing, kind of in a slightly different way, and it would really be worth easily $100. And
well, if you're going to sell it for $1,000, I would hope it would
right,
be
exactly.
worth
Well, what I'm saying is, you want the actual marketing materials, like themselves
I
to
see
be
what
kind of
you mean.
exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that the actual marketing, I'm not saying that the product should be worth at least
the
$100.
marketing materials. You could package that up and sell it. to
Right,
someone
exactly.
and
So
say,
when we did the whatever, $14 million campaign, right? That let's say we were theoretically selling something that sold for like 10 grand, okay? Then the marketing materials that we give to people, that we give to any free prospect, should realistically be worth, what a $997 product would be worth. And that's, by the way, that's one of the tough things about selling a $1,000 sale is, you got to be willing, I think, to dig deep if you want to really, create a shockwave.
The free stuff not only shows that it works, but it also needs to give away good enough information that it would be worth buying. That's an excellent point. So the prospects are like, man, this is not only is really cool because it's proving that it works, but I'm actually learning something. So let's say you're in a niche where you teach your cat how to go to the toilet or something. people are in that niche, believe it or not. Like they teach the cat to actually get on the toilet. I swear to God, I promise you, it's there.
You guys send me a link.
Yeah, it's not me. I wish it was me. It's because it's so ridiculous. Yeah. But in this example, if you're doing a promotion to that crowd, a great example of your free stuff would be you with someone who's used your stuff saying, yeah, this works, and my favorite thing was, your detachable thumb method, which got Fluffy to get up on the toilet. And I would be like, really, man? Well, let's see her do it. Let's see how well it works. And okay, well, here's what you taught me to do. Do the old detachable thumb method. It blows Fluffy's mind, and it hypnotically makes her get on the toilet. And you're like, okay, well, let's go. And and then you go, okay, Fluffy, da-da-da-da-da, here's the detachable thumb. Fluffy gets on the toilet and it works. Well, you've done two things. You've done three things. You've illustrated someone like you, the prospect. You've shown that it works. You've given content with the detachable thumb method. So that little piece of the promotion in and of itself is extremely valuable to the prospect because the prospect's like, man, that detachable thumb method is really cool.
Right, they can see right away. And plus, as they look at your materials, they can see you have tons more.
Yeah, and ideally, it's something they can get done watching the video and then like go to their dog and go, okay, Bonkers, or their cat and go, all right, Bonkers, detachable thumb, and then, the cat would get on the toilet or whatever. It always rolls into cats and toilets with me. I don't know what it is.
Cats, toilets, whiz bangatrons. Yeah, Jessica was actually going through some of the marketing for one of your pet products, and it was really funny because I actually ended up learning something, like relatively significant about my own pet, and it was nice. So that was definitely pretty cool stuff. So giving free stuff is really good in terms of creating a better anything. And I think that this is really, it combines, this is where you start combining value and transparency is when it comes to using audio and video. Mm-hmm. I think that really using these elements that bring things home. And you see these internet marketing launches. It's true when you hear, hey, selling in a different niche is a heck of a lot easier than selling an internet marketing niche. There's so many people, like my Magic site was so amazing to me because this game, Magic the Gathering, that 8 million people are playing worldwide, a couple $100 million a year is being spent on it. It's rabid marketplace, and what you have is kids playing this game, right, both online and offline, and all of the advice in the entire marketplace boiled down to articles, which is nuts because
especially that demographic, they don't want to read articles.
They don't want to read articles. Yeah, they're just like, what the hell? So I was just like, well, you told me about Camtasia. And I was like, you mean I can just play a game of Magic?
Show them
how it works. And then it's like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Detachable thumb technique in the Magic game?
Yeah, exactly. And so what I could do is I could just give away, let's say I have a product that has 10 decks in it. Right. Just 10 great decks, 10 custom decks.
A deck being the group of cards
deck,
they use.
The cards that they, it's configuration of cards that they'll use. It's a specialized, they go to a tournament, everyone has their own special custom deck or whatever. And so here's a custom deck that you could build. Let's say if I'm giving away, well, this is literally what I would do. I would give away, say, 10 decks, in MTG Insider. And what I would do in the marketing was I would have one of the decks in the marketing be a free deck that we constantly talked about, that we constantly put videos out about, that free prospects, that, by the way, like I don't know about you, but my prospects make me a lot of money, in various businesses in various ways, whether by stirring the kettle for the launches that I'm working on and getting, even if they're not buying, they're helping somebody else get riled up about it. They're spending psychic energy and getting involved, and if they're using my stuff, oftentimes, we've had launches where we've gotten tons and tons and tons of testimonials during the launch from people using our free materials.
Yeah, that's what you want. It really does have to be.
It really has to be that way. And so I would get testimonials from people, where I'm giving away free videos of top secret decks that other people don't have, and people were using my decks and writing me testimonials and calling my audio generator, phone,
right.
I called the Annihilation Hotline, the Instant Annihilation Hotline,
awesome.
Because it's a game where. Competitive games, a little tip is that people tend to like to brag. And so that's a great way to frame a testimonial, to kind of reframe a testimonial. Hey, call up and brag, and I'll tell the world about your success. And suddenly, it's something that people
You're
really
doing
want
them
to
a
do.
favor.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I would have prospects winning, tournament after tournament with free stuff. And you show that to people and they think, well, gosh, if this guy is winning tournament after tournament with the free stuff, why in the world wouldn't I, then buy the product? And so once again, you've got that value, you've got that transparency, and there you go.
And you have the second part of the conversation, so in one part of the conversation, and this is the conversation within your prospect's mind, that everyone's going to have this. You and I have it regardless of what we're investigating and thinking about buying. Part one is what we discussed earlier, where the person sees the result, sees the magic bullet, and has this thing like, man, if I could just do a little bit of what this thing does, it would totally be worth it. That one conversation got me into the business of direct marketing anyway. When I saw Jeff Paul's $4,000 a day ad, and I was like, man, if I could just
make money in your underwear, that thing is
and
awesome.
I had the thing like, okay, if I could just make $400 a day, I would be flipping out.
Yeah, exactly.
So gosh, maybe it'll be great. So that's step one. And if your prospects are going to have that conversation naturally, without you prompting them to, that internal conversation, you're great. But then if they can have the second part of the internal conversation, which is, man, if the free stuff this person's giving me is giving me the results that I want right now, imagine how awesome the paid stuff is going to be. And if that entire conversation happens, then you're really not selling at that point. You're just delivering what they want.
Yeah,
you're filling an order, basically.
Exactly, and that's the great news. The funny thing is, my whole point about like them taking all this time to invent various prestigious business schools is that
I think invent is a very good.
It is
a very good
because
term.
To me, business is very simple. When it comes to the rubber hitting the road, you create value and then you show the value. That's it. Value, transparency,
and build the desire to buy. Which
that's
if
it.
There's enough value and transparency there.
That's it. That's the whole thing. So I spend more time. It's funny because people think of me as a big launch guy, and they think of you as a big launch guy. We spend very little time actually in launches. We spend most of our time either relaxing, having fun, or actually preparing the business for the actual launching or something like that. But the actual launch itself is.
I got into the launching completely. It's your fault that I got into the launching thing.
It's my fault.
It's not mine.
Your fault. It's my fault.
It's definitely. It's probably their fault, yeah. Why do you guys want to, man, we're just trying to have fun here. And
we're surfing?
Yeah, and next thing you know, launches.
But
you don't really, it's really this, I don't know, you have to learn some stuff, but it's not like you sit around and do the launch stuff all day.
Exactly. It's not.
If you can have the two critical things, a magic bullet and proof that it works.
Right. If you walk in with a miracle, client or, a miracle situation where you've already got the silver bullet, and you've already got the case studies that are already in the can, ready to go, ready to just completely, then just take them out and show them to people, and that's your launch. The funny thing is, one of the things I realized, the first time I saw a gigantic launch, I realized that, if you read a business book, and I've read a lot of business books just to see how dumb they are, I know. They'll tell you that distribution is this big important thing. Well, maybe it used to be, but I'll tell you what, now it's freaking easy because of the internet.
Well, it gives us the ability to build a relationship with someone for free. Imagine trying to do what we do with mail or something. You spend like $50 trying to.
So perfect story. Bob Sterling was over the other day, and he was actually talking about Gary Halbert, a really great Gary Halbert story. Gary passed recently. Frank and I were fortunate enough to have gotten to know him a little bit. And Gary, truly one of the great copywriting pioneers of all time. Just a wonderful, wonderful writer. You can find out his stuff. It's still there at thegaryhalbertletter.com. And so Gary was at an event that Bob's at, right? And he's up. Gary's a really colorful guy. He's fun, and he's got a friend who's. It's a very early internet marketing event. Gary Halbert wasn't really much of an internet marketer. He was more old school. This guy actually mailed all of America in the 1970s with his famous coat of arms.
Well, they needed them. They really
did. They needed a coat of arms. So
they did.
So he personally, as an
else they would have forgotten who they were.
They would have forgotten who they were.
You can't have that.
He mailed every person in America with his coat of arms offer, showed them what it was going to look like, and did the whole transparency and offer thing, and did some cool stuff with that. Well, anyway, he's at this event. Gary's at this event, and he's got some guy. The guy holding the event is up in front of the room, showing the crowd how to get software created for their websites and all this stuff. And Gary's like, and he's got a programmer on the phone. And Gary's like, I'd like to be a part of this process. And so the guy brilliantly says, yes, let's have Gary be a part of this process. So Gary gets up and immediately starts fighting with the software programmer. Pretty soon, Gary gets infuriated. Now, I may be saying this wrong, but this is my retelling of it. Hangs up the phone on the guy. Looks at the crowd and says, here's what you need to know about the internet. You can mail everyone in the world for free. Get somebody to tell you how to do it.
The end. That's
The end.
That's pretty much.
And really, what a rock star statement. I mean, the guy, you know, it's kind of funny because you really find out that a lot of the guys that get it really are just like you and me, where they're just really plain, fun dudes. We were hanging out with him at some fancy restaurant in, was it San Francisco, that Nod Hill restaurant?
Yeah.
And Halbert starts busting out. This is a man in his late 50s, early 60s, starts busting out with Jerky Boys routines. I don't need to talk to you, Jerky. You know, just these crank calling routines. I guess is like the early '90s version of crank yankers or whatever. And I mean, the guy was an American original, but I mean, he's right. I mean, the guy knew a lot when it came to direct mail. And Frank, you're talking about.
Well, he just simplified it. It was just like just do stuff.
So when it comes to once you've kind of created a better value proposition, one of the things I realized kind of right away, and I did this on eBay. I did, you've done this in your businesses. Your cousin Trey does this all the time. Is just not skipping the actual launch step. So like one of the things that is kind of funny is when someone actually has the good value proposition put together, they're willing to be transparent with it, and then they just don't think that anyone else will really care that much about it. They're like, well, let me just stick it out there and
I think they actually say it just like that. There's
I think that they're like literally they're like worn out. They've just done all the work.
Guess
I
we'll make
made
some
my ebook. Here you go. I had Chris McNeely from Day Job Killer and his whole little squadron of attack team.
Was it an actual squadron? Were they in formation?
Didn't you meet them?
I didn't. Well, I mean, I don't. Squadrons freak me out.
Yeah,
man.
squadrons
I
do.
can't
They
be
freak
around
me
that
out
kind of
too.
thing.
Anyway, Chris came out here, and there's a great example. His first ebook, I guess, Project X. I mean, all he really did was took the same. I mean, not the same. He had quite a nice value proposition.
I read those too. They were good.
Yeah, they are good. Yeah, I mean, and people like them and stuff like that. But the point is that without a little bit of a pre-launch, without a little bit of a pep to get people fired up about it, like, who cares? And instead he ends up with, close to a 7-figure launch, or maybe he did do a 7-figure launch, maybe between 1 or 2 ebooks.
That's great.
And again, he just could have been there at the end, like, okay, all right, I'm done.
Well, let's talk about the launch. Like, what has to happen? Like, we fairly established. Well, the stuff's got to work. It has to be something that people just inherently want anyway. If you got to convince people, it's no good. You want to convince people that it works and that they're buying it as a good decision. But if you're at the step where you have to convince them that they want it, I think you might be in trouble. So to have a good launch, ideally, you want to stick your free stuff, being the thing that proves that it works, in front of as many people as possible. And I'm going to assume that people watching this might not have big lists. If you do,
or
great.
no list.
Yeah, or no list. Well, it's all about distribution in this case, which is simply a fancy pants way of saying affiliates. I watched the news once and they used that word, distribution. Sure. I liked it.
Sure.
It sounded good, didn't it?
It's very scientific.
Distribution.
I like it. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's good.
You need the distribution.
You need the distribution for your
stuff.
Thingamatron.
Yes, 9,000.
9,000.
So good with the turbo. I can't believe they finally. I mean,
and the
I read on the forums
automated windshield wipers.
That's something
very cool.
Now they're really, they better take it easy.
Absolutely.
If you get too good at something, you could die. Like Jimi Hendrix.
Jimmy. Oh.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
So you want people to promote your stuff. Well, if step 1 and step 2 are in place, it's an easy sell to the affiliates, and the way you go at them is not like, hi, I'm so-and-so and I have a thing. It's like you write very casually, hey, there's this thing, it works like crazy, people will freak out over it, and all you have to do is give stuff away and show them that it works, and they'll love you for it.
Yeah, especially if you can back that up. Yeah,
here's the free video.
Exactly, that's where you back it up with the transparency, and you're dead on. I mean, it's so funny. I get people coming to me while I have them busy working on their offers or retuning them or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, contact the affiliates, and I'll be like, "And tell them what?"
Yeah.
That at some point
we're getting ready to get ready.
Yeah, we're getting ready, and at some point we'll have something really great.
We're in position to be in position.
Breaker, stand by. 2 cover formation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dumb, but it's I think people get really flipped out about this, especially no one that's ever done it. It's like, oh man, I gotta get affiliates. What do I do? What if they say no? And well, first of all, some of them are going to say no.
For sure.
I mean, people have said no to us a couple times. I don't know whatever happened to them. It was really tragic.
Didn't work out well.
Yeah, but some people will, but who cares? It only takes a few to say yes, and you've got some good action. So what you want to do is make the free thing in advance and then say, hello, Mr. or Miss Affiliate.
Make it easy for them.
All you got to do is give away the free thing and you'll get paid. And the free thing is cool. Here it is. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
One of the
Period,
biggest,
you know?
one of the biggest mistakes that I see when it comes to this affiliate marketing is exactly what Frank's saying, is this assumption that somehow the affiliate is smarter and is just really wants to sit there and have a 15-minute conversation with you about all the details and nuances, and they want to.
The truth is, the affiliate wants you to do everything for them, and you want to do everything.
Affiliates are way worse, man. We actually write like affiliates are way worse than customers, and all the affiliates that are watching right now are going, yeah, I know, I have no attention span at all. They won't read your sales letter. They don't. No way.
There's like, tell me what to say.
No way. Tell me what it does. Tell me if it works. Tell me how much money I make. Write the copy for me. Wash my car, get it waxed, whatever. I mean, anything, simple. I mean, they're the Uber.
That's how we stay in shape, is all the waxing of the cars.
The waxing of the cars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when it comes to launch, that same piece of material, that what Frank calls the shock and awe video, that first Canon shot, where you've got that. The value in there, and you've represented it, with the transparency. You got the value, then you've got the transparency. That's the same material that's going to sell your affiliate, that's going to sell your prospect, and loading up on that. What I was going to say is, one of the things that I always say is, and I think this is, actually I had this written here somewhere, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, bring a Black Ops Death Squad.
The Black Ops Death Squad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
just watch those guys.
You do. You like, the thing is, you really want to come with an unfair advantage. And
one guy brought the Taupe Ops Death Squad.
The Taupe, I know.
And then they were like, "What are you doing?
I know what's going on."
That's not going to work.
You got Pink Ops Death Squads. And those guys. You see them.
They fly under the radar, though. Because what are they going to do?
They have those fancy hats, though. The boil, with the nice. It looks good, fancy. You get a little feather in them.
And, but you want the Black Ops Death Squad.
The Black Ops Death Squad. Now, you want to really, when you're coming. If your shock and awe video doesn't just knock somebody on their butt, in just a few seconds. I mean, not in 15 minutes, not in 5 minutes, but right away if it doesn't.
Like recent launch number 1 that we did was
just
showed the $500,000 a month or something insane.
Boom, here's this gigantic figure that you're not even. Like, some people are just like, whoa, that's even too much money for me, I wouldn't even necessarily want to deal with that. My needs are simpler than that, but they still
beautiful because they have part 1 of the conversation.
Exactly, because they're having that part, and then they're just thinking to themselves, well,
if I could just do, I don't know, $5,000 a month, I'd be
stuck. That would completely change my life, then I could, stop, serving lattes or whatever, and that's really cool. So the thing is, you want to put your best foot forward. So many people want to save. It's like they're imagining that the conversation is going to be like, they're going to meet the person's not going to want to talk to them, but they're going to talk to them and talk to them and talk to them, talk to them and talk to them, until eventually at the very end of the conversation, they're finally going to tell that person why it was that they were talking in the first place. This is, by the way, this is the complete opposite of the real way that conversion works, that sales works. It does not work this way. Like, it's not like big, long conversation. It's like, when a guy tries to pick up a girl at the bar, he's going to leave, he's not going to try to look bad and then look good at the very end of it. Oh, I know I've been doing something wrong.
Man.
Yeah, so what you want to do is you really want to lead. You don't want to hold anything back. I mean, you want to just attack, and give your very, very best stuff first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then from there, then you can start filling in some of those details. I mean, that's also something, about creating a very valuable offer, is the deeper your offer is, then the more you have to back it up with later, and the more you can kind of look at different aspects of it. But man, it's the biggest thing to come with, with material that is just going to knock people, right on their butts, because, again, as our friend, this is sort of a combination copywriting part and business launch part, because we're leading, the second step that we have is the advantage of deadly copywriting. And Frank and I are both writers. We've both written millions of dollars worth of copy. Frank many more millions than I have. But we've learned from a lot of guys. One of the guys that we mentioned before, John Carlton, one of the things that he says that I think is just really awesome is that people are bored.
Yeah, they are bored. I've got this theory that what you really sell, like if you boil it all down, you're really selling hope and heroes. People want hope that whatever outcome they have can be achieved, and then they want a hero to believe them or to believe in that can take them to get that outcome. And if you just strip away everything, you're really selling hope and heroes. And it's powerful and it's true. If you look at like what fuels certain businesses, like for example, Tony Robbins, people are really buying Tony because he's their hero, and they're really buying the hope that one day they can have like the perfect dream life or peace of mind or whatever it is each person wants.
Yeah, for sure.
Within that little thing, it's all that's really being sold if you strip it all away. And that's what the offer needs to convey. And to do that, you've got to build like this relationship with the prospects over time leading up to the launch. Which there's a little bit of magic in doing that, but it's mainly just be cool and be yourself and talk like normal. And I love the old all shucks thing. Like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I never thought people would freak out about this so much. I'm glad they did. I'm happy to teach it. I'm a little bit scared, but it works, and I'm excited to share it with you. So let me introduce you to this case story number one. I mean, just like that, verbatim. Like you could stop the tape and then copy what I just said. Insert your thing right there.
Yeah, one of the cool lessons about hanging out with great copywriters. I learned this. I was watching one of John Carlton's courses, and I was just like, I was so happy just to listen to him talk. I didn't even care what he was saying. I was just like, wow, that's a great thing to say at some point.
That's really cool.
Yeah, just zoom people ahead. I was like, yeah, I want to zoom ahead. That sounds great.
Zooming ahead sounds good.
But
it's much cooler than like sashaying.
Yeah, exactly. You don't, you can saunter ahead, you can sachet ahead.
Why sachet
ahead.
when you can zoom?
Zoom right along. Yeah. Exactly. So you've got John up there, and he's telling you, that your prospects are just completely bored. So Frank, you're imagining. That this guy, or girl, but maybe it's one guy is sitting there on their computer and they're checking out this offer, and really they're bored, but what they're missing, and I haven't heard this hope and hero things from you. We've talked about hope, but I like the hero's angle. So they're just sitting there and they're thinking, really what I'm looking for is a ray of light. And once I have that ray of light, I want someone to take me by the hand and lead me step by step to where I'm going.
To wherever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that could be some copy too.
That's why products have spokespeople. It's like, oh, I can identify with this person. Yes. It doesn't even have to be an info product.
It's kind of funny because that's the same thing I was just saying about, giving somebody a case study. Like you can ask somebody, hey, if you're a masseuse, and you have 5 case studies that you can show people, your business is completely different. You can double your prices. You can, everything is totally different. But until you have one to show everybody else how to make it, they don't know how to make it. It's the same thing when it comes to the business. If you don't show people, hey, this is what it looks like when it's done, and that's your spokesperson. This is what people want, and
they identify with that spokesperson. Like what was the Jenny Craig lady that just got? It's been over the past year. Kirstie Alley.
Oh, Kirstie Alley.
She was the hero, but she was the attached hero. There's the hope that
she got. Well, and Nicole did the same thing. And you saw those ads in the Inquirer for a while. It was like she got big and then she got small on the new drug and whatever. And so that person then but Jared, the big one is that Subway guy.
The Jared guy, yeah.
That guy's the perfect example.
And he's a great example of a semi-reluctant hero. And like people right now are probably watching this going, man, I'm just a dude in my basement trying to sell how to teach your cat to actually use the toilet. I don't want to get out there. I promise you.
I believe it. I love it.
I don't want to get out there and position myself as this hero that'll freak me out. I don't want to be presumptuous or whatever. And a really big secret, and if you look at the stuff that we've done, is you always position the hero as reluctantly being the hero. It's man, this is really freaking me out. I'm really happy that 80,000 people watched the video yesterday, but I got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I never thought that they would get this big.
This is kind of weird. I'm kind of freaking out about this whole thing.
It leads to the internal conversation, the prospect of this guy's not even really trying to sell me anything. He's just showing me the deal. Like, how many times have you ever been to a store or a car dealership or whatever, and you've had an interaction with a salesperson, and then you're telling someone else about your interaction with that salesperson, and you're like, yeah, they were really cool, and they don't work on commission there or anything. They weren't not trying to push anything.
He wasn't really pushing. He was just really cool. He understood me.
Yeah. What's really happening.
He likes the same kind of music that I like.
Yeah, it was just
stuff like that. It was just cool.
What's really going on in that conversation is you have made your decision to buy. And you're justifying it.
You're justifying that decision. Yeah. And the thing is, when I've written some of my best copy, one of the great things that Carlton, Johnny Cino taught me was to really focus in on that barroom aspect of the conversation. Just like just like it's, you and another dude sitting there at a bar, his buddy just walked away and you sit down and, he tells you about his insurance job and he asks you what you do and you're like, oh, well, I train cats to go to the bathroom. And he's like, and the other guy's like, damnedest thing, I have a cat. I would love a cat to go to the bathroom.
And you're like, well, dude, here's what you do, man. And, I don't really care if you buy my stuff or not, but it works and it's cool. But what you want to do is the detachable thumb technique, and I'll show it to you now. And I don't want to bore you with it, all day. But
let me show you the detachable thumb.
Yeah, and then if you want to go to detachablethumbs.com.
But actually, my wife's calling me, so I've got to run. I usually stop by here on Tuesdays. See you later. The next Tuesday comes, and sure enough, here's the next piece of evidence or proof.
Mm-hmm.
But and obviously the cat thing is funny. But when somebody says, "Hey, let me show you how to make $7,000 a day," suddenly it's like, ooh, it's actually very easy and simple. But no, you wouldn't be interested in this. Nah.
Or I hope you like this. I'm really nervous about showing it. It's worked great for me. I don't know if it'll work for you. I guess it will. If I can do it, anybody can. But I'll show you what I do, and I hope you get some value out of this. And that kind of conversation is huge.
And just think about the way it would be in a bar room. You wouldn't be like, if you feel like you have a great job, like let's say, you have a great job at some law firm and you're sitting there, you don't tell every single person that you meet that they need to get your job. Yeah. You don't act that way. Now you may talk about your job, and you'd be like, how would you be about it? You're like, oh well, my job's pretty cool, but you don't want to sound like you're bragging. Mm-hmm. Nobody likes anyone who brags, so you're just like, oh well.
That's when the other guy's like, oh man, he didn't know he's talking about his job's awesome, man. I wish I had that job.
Exactly.
And that's the same parallel with the case studies.
The same parallel. Next thing you know, the guy's going and getting an MBA or going and getting a legal degree.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, oh man, I met this guy who's a lawyer, and he's really cool, and he's just like me, and it's. So that's the way it works, and in terms of so that's when it comes to copywriting, we're giving you kind of like a lot of lessons and things to build around.
It's almost hard to teach this stuff because no one's ever really done it. I mean, people have written copy before in terms of long-term or long-form sales letters, but never before in history until the internet came about were people able to build a rapid, deep relationship with hundreds of thousands of people or however many people are on a certain list or distribution channels or combination of lists through your affiliates without spending money. So no one ever sat down and figured out how to do it. And that's the way to do it is through pure conversation and low key. People are going to filter out heavy-duty hype. But if you're their friend and you're reluctant about it.
Hype. I mean, they're so sick of the average person on the internet who actually spends time on the internet is actually extremely smart, extremely skeptical, and rightly so. They should be. There's a bunch of ripoffs, and plus, part of the reason why they're on the internet is because that way they can just see. They don't have to listen to a bunch of BS promises anymore. Now, if you've really got it, you can just show me, and they realize that,
And if you're going to get hypey, you can just precede the hype by saying, I know this sounds like hype, but it's almost embarrassing, but I got to tell you, I'm really excited about this, and you're going to see why. I just had the damnedest thing happen. My cat not only went to the toilet, on the toilet, but he was also able to fly around the room 19 times. Can you believe that? 19 times. I called my wife at work and told her. She said I was out of my mind, but fortunately I filmed it. If you want your cat to fly too, hopefully this will help you. Check it out. By the way, I don't want everyone's cats in the world knowing how to fly, so I'm only going to give away the cat flying system, or only going to sell it to 274 billion people. So if you want it, hopefully you'll be ready. It's going to launch on this day or whatever. And that's the way you do it. So even though that was complete hype, you de-hyped it by going, I know this sounds like hype, and I'm almost embarrassed, but this is crazy.
Yeah.
And and then feel free to hype as much as you want.
And we've seen guys, I haven't been writing copy for that long, and, it's crazy to me because, I meet some of these great copywriters where it's Carlton Halberg or, a lot of the other guys that are our friends that were from this old school era, when they were, running print ads in various magazines and all this stuff, these high pressure situations. They were working for people in suits. Who knows? Maybe they even had to wear suits at some point. Who knows? It's just very scary, freaky situation, uncool. And, this is really the first time when dudes like you and I, who, just regular dudes could just pick up copywriting and learn it and not having it be just another job.
Yeah, and then twist it a little bit for the new medium that we're doing. And this is not sales letters. I mean, this is specifically like
sales
mass
letters
control.
Aren't even that important, by the way. I think sales letters are they used to be everything. I mean,
depending on the context, I guess.
Okay.
Post-launch sales letters are not important, but if the guy's just like happening upon the
exactly. Sorry, because Frank makes a lot of money with a sales letter, thousands of dollars a day. So very much true, but especially when it comes to this like launch situation. I mean, out of all the things that we've talked about, out of all the kind of absurd things that we've talked about that we could probably do in a launch situation, the one thing that I think is patently true is that you could just pretty much hold, take a Polaroid picture of my hand with, something, a link in the middle that says "Pay me," and people would almost be happier. I mean,
well, that's a lot of times if you do it right, that's what they're doing. Go the order form.
I mean, I pretty much just tell people, most people who have just participated in a campaign and they've gone that long, and I mean, they know it, they know what we're selling, they know what it is, they know they want it, they know that there's a bunch of people hanging around. We're not trying to put any pressure on them, but there's just a ton of people hanging around. What are you going to do? I mean,
that's a great phrase, by the way. Is I'm not trying to put any pressure on you, but there's a ton of people hanging around.
Yeah,
this is going to sell out.
Around. Yeah, I mean, if tickets went on sale for the Super Bowl, and and they had 500 tickets, and 30,000 people were camped out to get those 500 tickets, then guess what? Those tickets would go very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, again, that's just a simple thing that you can put in your copy.
And if you say, even though you're putting on immense pressure on them, deliberately, by the way, if you say, I'm not trying to put any pressure on you, but it negates, I don't know why really, it just negates the whole thing. They're like, well, yeah, I know that is a lot of pressure, and thank you for not trying to put any on me. But yeah, wow, I guess I better get this thing.
Better do it now. But otherwise, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, there really are that many people around, so there you go. Now, one of the things that we talked about is evil scheme hatchery, and there's something that you do that involves your evil scheming that in copywriting, and I've seen your evil brain looking for angles and looking for various ways of writing things and so forth. But it's kind of funny. Once again, kind of as I review it and just watch back, I just think it's pretty simple. Like all you're really doing is watching for things that are really interesting in the campaign and then writing about them. And you kind of bypass, say, oh, this thing happened. It's not really that important. Oh, my cat's, my cat's kitten peed on the toilet. Well, maybe that's not that exciting. But all 12 kittens are flying now. Well, that's
pretty big.
That's worth talking about. Just one kitten on the toilet. Not exciting enough news.
Flying kittens on the toilet.
But 12 flying kittens after the toilet. That's something. Watch the 12 flying kittens in unison. They're going to the Olympics next year. What have you.
They really are. I mean, people think we're kidding.
Really
that
awesome.
happens.
This is going to be awesome.
Anything's possible in Southern California.
Yeah, you just need to have a "does it for you" button, and then it's really going to be good. In terms of what's the angle, though, one of the things that I like to pull from what we do is pile on pressure just by making things just too good. Like that's one of the things that again, if you've done your research and if you've done your planning right, then you can really have this part of the campaign where you're just piling on thing after thing after thing that just takes somebody who's on the fence and just pushes them way over the line.
Yeah, and it's good to not, you want to lead with your best foot forward, but you also want to have some reserve ammunition to further get people really stoked about what's going on.
And by the way, oftentimes we develop that further ammunition during the campaign, because what we're doing is, lo and behold, we're asking people, once again,
and reading their replies
and going completely nuts. I was telling Frank that I've probably read 20,000 emails in the last year. I mean, it's the one piece of actual hard work that I've done. It was actually
you have to hold a piece of paper and read
none of that.
It's on the computer.
Reading through, just going through either SurveyMonkey or Ask Database or whatever.
You could have someone read it to you.
That would be nice.
Jeff's
going to do it. It'd be fun. I would definitely like that. But I've read just a ton of different emails from a ton of different people, and you find the angles. You find that they tell you. We were having a conversation yesterday about one of your pet businesses, and the conversation boiled down. We were just talking about strategy and stuff like that. And we didn't want to spend a bunch of time. We had to get back to surf, do stuff like that. I kind of had to shorten things and ask you if you'd actually gone nuts and surveyed your customers to find out what they wanted.
I had gone absolutely hog wild and surveyed them.
And sure enough, one of the top two things that they thought of was literally an ideal answer. Where we could help them out. Well, it's the same thing with these campaigns. We're finding out that people are saying, well, I would want to have the flying cats if only I had a raincoat. For and if
so then you incorporate the raincoat in the product. You're like, by the way,
luckily, I got an extra batch of raincoats shipped into us. Funny thing, first 20 people who buy now get a raincoat.
That's exactly, I mean, did we even survey people in the last two? I don't think we did. We would end the emails and be like, let me know if you have any questions.
We surveyed, that's how I got so many emails. It was nuts.
But was it an actual Ask database kind of survey, or did we just say, write in with any questions? Or
2 times ago, and we've been answering people's emails. We've been doing a lot of emailing and getting them either to email us directly.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, we didn't actually put up a survey thing.
And then one time before that, we actually did just put a direct Ask campaign from AskDatabase.com, Alex's site. And that thing, we got like 23,000 questions.
Oh, I remember now. Okay, yeah, that was a lot of questions.
In that one alone. It really was. And there was. I mean, I actually went back just out of curiosity, just for kind of nostalgic purposes, like 6-month anniversary or whatever. And I went back and I read through several hundred more questions, and I actually learned a lot. I mean, it was kind of funny, but one of the main things to kind of wrap up copywriting before, there's 1 or 2 more things, but one of the main things is just boils down to getting inside of the mind of the person you're talking to. I mean, if you want to,
great way to do it is to end the email saying, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. I'm right here. Here's my secret address. By the way, don't give this out to everybody.
Yeah, one of the things that we've actually taught our clients to do that's really, again, hog wild, is actually answer those emails.
All of the crazy things.
All the crazy, falutin strategies. But we've had unbelievable success, and the faster you answer those emails, it makes a huge difference in terms of responsiveness. One of the main reasons we found that people write in the first place is just to find out if there's somebody there.
If you're a real person.
I can't tell you how many times I've read the question, is there anybody there? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, just writing to see if you're there.
Tons of times, is there anybody there?
No, I'm actually
and somehow writing somebody back and just saying yes with a smiley face, they're like, wow.
Amazing.
And and they have a brain.
They type 3 letters in
3 whole letters and a smiley face.
Dang.
Swipe file strategy. This is something, when it comes to copy, just having something to pull from. How do you figure out what you like to copy? You say you like to just read Harold Robbins novels and just write whatever comes to mind. But are there any sources? I personally I like to read whatever sales letters I write. I actually have my whole swipe file strategy at this point boils down to one Word document that I copy and paste out phrases and words that I like.
I look at John Carlton's course, which is killer, Kick-Ass Copywriting Secrets of Marketing Rebel.
It's awesome.
Marketingrebel.com. Get it,
Absolutely.
I read lots of trash fiction to help me write the emails and get that dialogue right, and I think the last
and when you say
2
trash
that we've
fiction,
done,
Harold Robbins, right?
That's the secret weapon. I've said this for years. I don't think anyone actually believes me.
No, I actually bought a couple of his books.
There was a point
they're really good.
in his career when 25,000 people bought a Harold Robbins novel per day. So it's like, okay, maybe you might want to read stuff by this dude and emulate what's going on, how he's communicating to the reader. I mean, I don't know, call me crazy. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but there's a lot of people, in the 80s
maybe
too.
Maybe this language is in people's minds. Maybe just,
probably not.
This is how,
This is a scam.
So,
yeah, I'm getting an MBA.
So this is exactly. I'm going to get right up straight. They'll give you one of those fancy suits.
Thank God.
And a cat hat.
A cat hat. Now that's what. Yeah, I think that's what we need is the cat hat.
See, that's the secret step. The final secret step to the cat toilet process is then to train your cat to then sit on your head and sort of balance itself.
But not go to the toilet on your head.
That's the.
You have a lot of reflex.
That's why you need the rain jacket.
Yeah. But in terms of copy, I've written the sales letters a lot at the last minute under duress, but I never intentionally. But the emails, I like to have other people try them, and then I'll go in, oftentimes completely redoing it, but I'll get that jump start from other people writing.
Yeah, this is kernifying.
Yeah, so it's just the kernification of, and usually the kernification is just dumbing it down, making it more conversational,
making it simple. I mean, a lot of times I see you just putting in things like, what does this mean?
Or
let me explain. Or don't get freaked out by that word. When I say flying cats, let me explain exactly what I mean. Don't assume that they have the same exact picture that you have in your mind, and it's actually
let's hope they don't
simple.
have the same one that I have in mind. They would, in my mind, the people would be that's
not good. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, when it comes to copywriting, some pretty simple stuff. We've gone through a plan. We're now getting on to how to hatch an evil scheme, and we were just talking about what we read, watch, and who we listen to and why. And this is going to start, leading up towards kind of the end of this whole thing. But you know, what I read and watch, and then, so what information I get and what information I give, that's pretty much most of what I think about. Like that's, if you don't have that many hours in the day to think about things, if you're going to have time to surf and screw around, you know,
I mean, you cannot neglect the screwing around.
no, man.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to make things really.
You know, it was Kurt
really
Vonnegut
simple.
died recently, and I heard like some
no.
quote by him on the news, and he said like he believed that the meaning of life and the reason that we were put here on Earth was to quote fart around. And I was like, you know, dude, I think you're onto something there. I think we're just here because that's all dogs and cats do.
Around farting.
You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely, you know, there's. We obviously we do this for a reason. You know, you could just work, you know, 80 hours a week and, you know, just be a slave for somebody else. But there's
no fun in that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get to
But the
lifestyle
reading
part.
and watch thing, it's important, I think, to really address that. Personally, I don't read lots of business books, and the reason I don't is because I think a lot of the guys that write them don't know what the hell they're talking about.
No. In fact, I've read just for you. I took the time, and we could pan a camera around, and you could see a whole wall of books. At some point, I really wanted to know if anybody knew anything about business. Because once you've done this launch thing that Frank and I have done, and you've just built business, you know, 7-figure business after 7-figure business, 8-figure business, 7-figure business overnight, you really do, you know, you're kind of almost force-fed a thing or two about real business, and it's not in any of those books. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know what else to tell you. Like I've exhaustively went through them. There's, you know, I certainly picked up 1 or 2 facts here. Most of the best books that I read on business are like stuff about like anomalies, about brain teasers, like Cialdini's Influence or something like that.
I didn't even finish that. It was good though.
It is pretty good, you know.
And they had a couple pictures in there, I think.
Yeah, they have a couple pictures. I mean, there's like a couple books that are really good, like The Tipping Point and how to make why smart people make big money mistakes. And these kind of books are important because they point out that people don't think the way that you think that they think, and that gets you asking questions and wondering. And you know, Cialdini's Influence is important because it kind of points out certain triggers and stuff.
That is really a pretty good one.
But there's like you know, maybe 8 or 9 books that you can get by with reading. One of them being the Kick-Ass Copywriting Manual by John Carlton.
Yeah, if you don't do anything, just read that.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, is this an infomercial for this Carlton guy's course? What's going on here? But it really is that good. But yeah, I agree with you. Like I really did, you know, just for my personal satisfaction, just so I could just fart around in peace and watch the stupid TV shows I wanted to watch. I was telling Frank recently, I've been on iTunes downloading every music video that even slightly interests me because you've got
that's
to
what
format.
sells, man. I mean, like, if you
People
want to
sell-
learn how to sell stuff to
Exactly.
lots of people, look at what lots of people are buying.
Gee whiz, you know, millions of people, you know, 70
Gosh
million
dang.
people.
Instead, let's go talk to some dude with an MBA who's never sold anything. in
He's
his
never
life.
sold anything in his life.
Okay.
He's, you know, he's got a fancy suit on, you know, that.
Right.
It's.
I mean, read pop culture, you know, which is why I, again, highly advocate Harold Robbins. Read trashy romance novels to learn the dialogue. You know, read Charles Bukowski novels if you want to learn how to really identify with, like, pain and suffering in a marketplace and draw that out. You know, if you want to learn how to write quick, just jab, punch sentences, read Bukowski. You know, I don't think you're going to find it in the business section of Barnes & Noble. It's just not
read
gonna
the
happen.
Inquirer. You hear it again and again. But I mean, I get a lot of my. I was telling you about my swipe file concept, and really what I do is I take the phrases that I like. You know, if somebody says, "Don't read this if you don't want to know," well, that's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
and that may come up, and I may need that. So I now have like a 15-page document that's double spaced, and it has subheaders or headlines that I like, or just phrases I like. Don't freak out, whatever.
Yeah.
And what
was
I do
the other
is,
one? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
That
I
one's
really
so
like
great.
that one.
Yeah.
Are you okay? That's a good subject line to use sometime. But anyway, you know, and all I do is when I'm about to write a letter is first of all, I take some simple time. I really think that one of the most important creative steps that you can take is resting and just chilling out.
There's a lot to be said for chilling out.
It really is. And then I'll chill out, and then I'll go through my subheader sheet, and I'll just pick out and I'll copy and paste out, sort of like maybe like a sushi chef probably like pulls together the things that he wants to do, or maybe if he's a really gourmet chef, he's on the Iron Chef or whatever, he pulls together the ingredients that he wants to have, and then I just use those words to inspire me. I'm not saying that you should write this way. I'm just saying that this is how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, all I'm doing is as I go through these medias, you know, going through and watching what everyone else is watching and doing what other people are doing, I find the snippets that I like, the little pieces of life, the little slices of life that are funny or interesting. If you read it, Harold Robbins' book, and you get so much value out of that.
It's great, and they're good books anyway, you know. So, So why not?
I really like to watch TV series a lot too. Nowadays.
They did. Well, Lost is a great example. And if you
Lost.
look at the campaigns that we've been involved in, there are lots of cliffhangers all the time. In the
Absolutely.
campaigns, it's like, oh, but if you
Lost,
really want to see this weird next
24.
video is coming out tomorrow, you need to watch it.
Exactly. Like movies really don't accomplish this anymore. I mean, maybe it used to be just like a slower lifestyle, slower culture where you could have a movie be a cliffhanger, but I don't think it just doesn't maintain. Maybe like Lord of the Rings did it pretty well, but you get these series like Entourage, which by the way is good again, which thank goodness. But you get these series Entourage or. I mean, there's so many different things I watch. Heroes is a really
Great
good new
show.
one. That's really awesome, and they really know how to craft that cliffhanger, and it just gets you in this mentality of, if you're going to, one of the things one of my friends is, considered to be the greatest pickup artist in the world, and the kind of the surprising thing about him is, when he goes out and hangs out with people, the really big secret that he and his friends have is that they just try to create value with people around them. They try to make people around them really happy, and they know stories. They know what excites people. They know what keeps people interesting. They know how to keep people vibing and flowing and so forth. And that's the main simple thing that they do. Sure, they have a lot of smart tricks and techniques that they've used and best practices that they've compiled. But the number one thing that they do is just chill out and have a good time, and it makes all the difference in the world. So. Getting in that mentality of giving yourself, nourishment and enjoyment. And, I hear a lot of, obviously if you don't have a business and, you need to spend those, a lot of times, I mean, I have a good friend who was talking recently about how whenever somebody says, I guess he makes probably $70,000 a month at this point. And he was saying that a lot of people say, oh, hey, Kelly, you're really lucky. And he finds it like really insulting. He doesn't, he doesn't get angry. He doesn't judge that person. He knows that they don't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. But what about the 17-hour days that I slave day after day, week after week, in front of my computer trying to figure out this online marketing thing. And I mean, certainly there's a place for that. But if you're not at least, when you're spending those 17-hour days, if you're not at least headed towards an experience, and if you're not engineering that experience in your mind, like we said at the beginning, where you're going to be able to just to chill out and enjoy your time and enjoy your life. I mean, it's not even worth it.
Or you can actually skip the 17 hours a day
just
by like reading the marketing manuals and doing what they say. And if you look like lots of people probably are familiar with what happened to my cousin Trey. And he's been at it for a year.
He's a really good
And the
example.
guy's just killing it, man. I mean, he's making more money than me. And he didn't like spend 17-hour days. He was like, dude, what should I do? And I was like, you should do this. And he goes, okay.
And he just
like,
goes on
the
the
end.
attack. Yeah, no, I remember when I was visiting you in that trip to Macon. That was when Trey was doing one of his first info product launches, and I remember you slapping the old, once again, cheap plug for John Carlton manual, but slapping the
He's
big
got a lot
John
of dirt
Carlton
on me.
manual.
Yeah,
Exactly. Slapping in your in your lap, and
okay.
just starting to copying exactly, and just watching Trey, just being like, okay, what are we gonna do? Let's send another email. Well, like let's go. Like let's.
None of this. Why or will it work? I mean, like, who cares? No going on the Warrior Forum or something. Is this a scam if you send 3 emails in one day?
Is this a scam?
Like, no, it's like, okay, I'll hit send and hopefully it'll work, and it does. And it's like. You can spend 17 hours a day, but I guarantee you most of the 17 hours a day are going to be like, should I do it? Should I do it? Does it work?
And a lot of it was for me too. Now, one of the things though, and if there's something that you've done for me, that I would say, like as a friend, and and having learned from you and so forth, like you're really good at getting over intimidation, just blowing past it, just not getting kind of bogged down and just kind of keep going.
Well, dude, I mean, we're just talking about selling stuff on the internet. I mean, if we were talking about going into combat in Iraq or something, I would have a hard time getting over the intimidation, But it's like, what's going to happen? Are they going to come kill me? No, they might not buy the stuff.
That way, though. I mean, they are sitting there that sometimes someone might be at their computer and they might be sitting there feeling like, oh, well, I might be embarrassed if this happens, or what if I do a bunch of work on that and it doesn't work and things don't work out, and then what do I do? And ooh. But I mean, really, just I've been there before. I mean, I've been in a situation where I was writing a sales letter, and I needed 10 grand. I mean, I just would write a letter and just hope that 10 grand would come of it, and just gosh, I need to get 10 grand, and pretty much it boiled down to I could either sit around and worry.
Think about
that.
How much you needed the 10 grand to write the stupid
or
letter,
I could just write the letter, and sure enough, I wrote the letter and I got 20 grand. And it was just like, I was like, wow.
You should have only written half the letter.
I know.
And then,
I think they could have had all that extra time to sit down
and then think about
whether it was going to work or not.
Because now you have to pay all those taxes on the extra 10 grand, so now you're screwed.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've got right here is, we have to start with the right foundation, which is the translation, does it work? And we've harped on that again and again.
Yeah.
But the next thing is, like Frank is saying, seriously getting down to work. One of the things that we do, and this is the thing with these launch situations is, we do a lot of screwing around, but man, when it comes time to
it's time to do it. It's time to do it.
It's just time to get serious. We just crush it. So, just, seriously getting down to work. The final thing I have on hatching an evil scheme is don't freak out. And the reason I say this, actually, it was the funniest thing is that
that'd be a good sales letter or a good email subject line. Don't freak out.
That's a great subject line. I was telling you about that $1.5 million launch that I did that I helped somebody with about a month ago. And actually on launch day, he literally calls me up and he's like, Mike, I know this is going to sound like a cliche, but I really am freaking out. The servers are down.
Of course the servers are down.
Of course the servers are down. It's a successful launch. And he's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, we've already done $250,000 worth of sales. But, and I was like, well, number one, good news, because now you get to tell everybody that the server melted down. A lot of people wonder, like they're like, oh, did the servers really melt down? No, if you do a big launch, guess what? The servers are going to melt down almost no matter what.
Take a screen cam.
Take a screen cam of it.
And then send it out again and be like, dude, this is so embarrassing. Here's our servers melted down.
Which is, basically exactly what we did. It's so embarrassing. I can't believe it. I'm freaking out, or don't freak out. The servers are gone down and, we're working diligently to take all your orders and, they're swarming in and thousands of people more are freaking out about this and there's
lots of freaking out going on.
They're freaking out going all over the place.
How do people get anything done?
But really all we're doing is, it's just the simple idea of like using like jujitsu or whatever, here comes the problem. How is this problem going to like make me money? To me, it's sort of like, we're not only looking for the stories about the 14 cats that are flying, the stories that are so spectacular, like
for those underdogs.
We're also looking for the big problems, exactly the underdog stories. The one of I won't name names here because this is a pretty famous person, but one of the early launches that I did, I ended up actually asking this guy. I was writing the copy for his stuff, and we did the old PDF beforehand. And I actually asked him what his most humiliating human experience was, because I felt like at that point in the campaign, people weren't really identifying with him. And he was a very likable guy. And I couldn't figure out, I was scanning through the emails and, they were, identifying with other things, but they weren't identifying with him. And I actually, I went through and I was like, I know this is going to be tough, but I want you to tell me like your low point in your entire business life. And he told me about it, and I actually wrote, I wrote a whole PDF, basically about his experience, and it actually was something that had to do with his wife, and just him having quit his job and it stressing her out, and her missing it, and it ended up like really emotionally. Interestingly enough, I actually cried when I wrote it, or when I went back. Actually, I wrote it, and then I went back and I reread it, and I cried because I was like, wow. And I ended up calling him, and I called his wife because I wanted her to read it before he put it out.
Make sure it's cool, yeah.
Yeah, to make sure it was cool. And she's like, I cried too. But the thing was, what we were doing there is, there's when we think of value, you can think of it like kind of like down and up. Like if you're watching like a soap opera or something like that, it's like she breaks up with her husband, but then she finds new love.
But then he's a transvestite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then she meets a transvestite. But then she discovers gold. Then it's stolen by pirates. Then she goes to Mars. Then she goes to Venus. Whatever. It's just, better or worse, better or worse. And that's, that's these cliffhanger shows and so forth. Well, the point is, if you're a big doing a big fancy pants launch, and you've already told everybody at least implicitly that your stuff works and you're big and rich and things are so great for you, they already know that your value experience is way up here, way higher than theirs is. So what's really literally relevant to them is, have you been down there where they are? And my point is, I'd rather show them that I've been way lower, because then, well, obviously the thing, the silver bullet must be so great because it's taken somebody from all the way lower than I've ever been to way higher than I ever really feel like I need to be.
I remember back when I had my head was cut off and I was walking down the street carrying it in my left hand.
The deathbed story.
Yeah.
Do you remember the deathbed story?
I do remember the deathbed story.
That's a great example. I mean, we had a client who literally had some health difficulties surrounding, some of the experiences.
Bad juju.
Some bad juju. And
So
Tell the story,
there are these two big, if you think about that value line, there's two big opportunities. One opportunity is big ups, and the other opportunity is, big downswings.
Everybody loves the underdog.
Everyone loves the underdog.
I think we better wrap it up.
So
because
we got to balance. The last thing we were going to talk about is lifestyle and exclusivity, but this is a perfect way to wrap things up because we did spend so much time that Frank actually has to get back to his lifestyle, and I actually have to get back to mine. But I think that if I have one lesson when it comes to lifestyle that I've learned from Frank, and I think it's worth talking about, is it is exclusivity. It's cutting your losses and knowing when to really just get rid of the customers that are harshing on your mellow, get rid of the clients that are harshing on your mellow, and focus on the people that are really changing your life and that are making you happy.
Yeah, that's good. Eliminate the mellow harshing and focus on mellow enhancement.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. And the thing I'll tell you about mellow harshing is, letting go of something that you don't want feels like a huge deal at the time, but once you do, it's just weird. Like other opportunities open up. So give it a shot. Well, I want to thank you for coming and hanging out, Frank. This was awesome.
Yeah, this was fun.
I think that this could have been a huge info product on its own, but I really
we could have put it in a very big box. At least.
Well, we could have put it in a big box. We could have arranged a bunch of DVDs and spread them out.
Yeah.
Showed
each
how many
DVD being 10
were.
minutes.
Each 10-minute section will be analyzed by Soviet scientists.
Yeah.
So we could have had a big spread of DVDs, a manual, and a report about this whole thing and the controversy, and of course diagrams of the flying cats and so forth.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate it. So I'll let you get back to La Jolla.
Cool, man.
And thank you very much for being here.
Awesome. I really do have to go.
I really appreciate it. I thought that was
awesome.
just awesome.
I don't know if people will watch